Well, David and I are golf buddies now too.
Yeah,
And I want you to know he's one of the most honest golfers I've ever met. A friend of mine hit a great shot onto number 7 at Talega. We're playing with a good friend of his as well, and the good friend went up and putted the ball closest to the hole in for a birdie, but it happened to be my friend's ball. David would never do anything like that.
I would never do that.
Recently I was in an audience myself, and the speaker mentioned that if you have an outline that people can look at, it actually increases their retention by about 40% just by looking at it. If you actually doodle on it or make something by way of a note on it, it actually even improves your retention from that point. So in part, that's why I provide the outline for you today. The other reason is that I know myself that I stay more engaged if I have to kind of have something, you know, to jog my mind. I will tell you, however, that we are recording this, and this will be available on my YouTube channel, so that I don't want you to get a migraine over missing a word or something, but I do think the outline will help keep me on track and hopefully help you retain more of the information that I'll share with you. I attended an event last Friday, and one of the guys stood up and well-meaning for sure, but asked the audience, you know, how many would like to do more business in 2016? Everybody yelled. How many of you would like to, you know, help more people? Everybody yelled. How many of you would like to make more money? Everybody yelled. And at some point, when you reach my age, that gets a little tired, right? So I'm not going to do that with you today. I believe that the information I'm going to share with you can be valuable for your practice. You determine if it's worthy of any investment of energy and time and all of that. But I truly believe that this could help your practice. The degree to which it will help you, I don't have any idea. It may help you with 1 or 2 more transactions a year. But I must confess to you, I've been in the sales business for almost 35 years. And if somebody can help me do 1 or 2 more transactions a year, kind of gets my attention, right? It's worth it to me. So wherever you find yourself today, I don't want you to feel like if this isn't something that engages you, I don't take it personally. I'm here to try to help you and potentially perhaps some of your prospects or clients. And to that end, we'll still be friends no matter what, okay? Deal?
Deal.
All right. So now I want to talk to you about something that most people don't know about. That's why I call it the secret, right? It's not a secret. It's really more of an undiscovered strategy that will help many people in the senior market, specifically the real estate community. So that's what I want to talk to you a little bit about today. And so this is kind of tongue-in-cheek, the secret sales strategy for the mature market. There is tremendous opportunity in the emerging senior market. Some call it the silver tsunami. I have a friend of mine who works for AgeWave, Ken Dykewald's organization. So for the last 25 years, I have studied and been immersed in the mature market. It's a place of tremendous opportunity. 11,000 people a day turn 65. The audience is growing. There are about 76 million baby boomers, give or take some today. They control about 60% of America's wealth, right? About 50% of these people are going to move somewhere, right? Does that sound like they need you? Yeah, they do. They need you. So, when we're talking about the senior market, I don't want you to think that it's a place where you sort of may someday get some business. I sincerely believe that if you have your antennae up, you will find people whom you can help that have silver hair, or like I do, have less hair. And they will appreciate you for it. Their families will appreciate you for it. But here's what's challenging, right? So on your outline, the first check mark is the senior market is massive and growing by 11,000 persons a day. So you don't have to fill that in. The second check mark is the senior market is different. It's different. One of my colleagues and my marketing online consultant that I've worked with at big companies, and now he works for me privately, is in the back of the room, Marlon Fuentes. And probably 10 years ago, he came by my office and he dropped a Xerox copy of about 20 pages of some material. And he said, I really think this is interesting. You ought to check this out. And it probably sat on my desk for 2 or 3 weeks, and finally I picked it up and thumbed through it, and the proverbial light bulb came on. It was an assortment of chapters from the material and research by a gentleman from Georgia State University. His name is George Moskos. And he has coined the term gerontographics. He has done marketing studies to determine what creates buying movement or motivation in the senior population, and he calls it gerontographic. And essentially what he says is, I have on this baseball diamond here, the senior market is unique. It is different. The person who understands it well will find more success. It just makes sense, doesn't it? So Moskos describes the senior market in 4 segments, and the drivers of those segments are very simple: health and social connectedness. And so what Moskos describes is people who are both connected socially and healthy, he calls healthy indulgers. People who are socially connected but in declining health, he calls ailing outgoers. And people on this side of the diamond who are healthy but socially disconnected, he calls healthy hermits. And people who are both socially disconnected and in ill or declining health, he calls the frail recluse. These are the housebound people, right? Now here's what I want to tell you. Each of these segments has a different dialect that you must speak in order to effectively communicate to them. So if you're interested in penetrating the senior market, you need to be able to speak 4 different dialects of senior. Make sense? Yeah. How many of you know what a Sherpa is? You familiar with that term? Yeah.
Great.
David, what's a Sherpa?
It's a person that carries your luggage up to the top of Mount Everest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What else? Anybody else? What's a Sherpa's responsibility? Anybody else? Actually, it's a little more important than the luggage carrying, gotta admit to you. Now, a person of your skill and experience, you may only need that.
I think I need more than that.
Most Sherpas, number one, they come from Nepal. And over the generations of climbing Mount Everest, their physiology has changed, and they can accommodate high oxygen deprived environments and atmospheres better than the rest of us who live at sea level. They're an interesting group. They're made, really, by now, after hundreds of years, to go up Mount Everest. But the value of a Sherpa is really not just that they carry your stuff. The value is that they've been up the terrain that you need to be led up before you. So they have a knowledge and experience of the environment that is peculiar and intense. Also, because they've gone ahead of you, they've built ladder bridges over 200-foot crevices that will kill you if you slip and fall. So they prepared the way for you in advance, and so when they're taking you up, you're getting the easy road. You're getting the safest journey possible, yet still people die, right? Avalanche killed about 16 of them a few years ago. A Sherpa is a guide. So, the third check mark. Monty is your senior Sherpa.
Is that spelled with an S?
Monty is your senior Sherpa. Now, as David mentioned, I've been in the senior market for 24 years. November of 1991, I started with Transamerica, the pyramid company in San Francisco with the famous building, and they started a separate company, and I was one of the first 8 sales representatives that they ever hired. So I've been in the senior market for 24 years. I have actually spent 10,000 hours at the kitchen table in dialogue with senior prospects and clients. That's a lot of time. I had hair and looked like Tom Selleck when I started. I've had over 1,000 clients. I forgot what the 200 was about.
It's a senior moment.
A senior moment. Okay. All this to say that I can be a guide for you if you need one or want one. It's just that simple. Okay? So, let's dive into the topic. So what? What's in it for me and what's in it for my client? So I have some things on the board, and as we go over those, I want you to remind me to check them off, because there's nothing I hate worse than somebody that advertises they're going to talk about something and then they don't talk about half of what they got me to come to hear about, right? So we're going to take care of that. So what's in it for me? Just briefly, I know the answer, but I just want to review these things. I believe that if you possess greater knowledge of the senior market and seniors, I'm a senior, that doesn't offend me. I enjoy playing golf at Strawberry Farms for $60 instead of $100, right? And I go in and it makes ordering at IHOP a whole lot easier because they have all the stuff I'm interested in on one page. So it doesn't offend me. If that offends you, I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend you. We'll call it the maturing market. Whatever, right? I feel 40. I get out of the shower, look in the mirror, not so good, right? So I'm all about, you know, my parents are both 87, and my dad looks better than I do because he has hair, and we're built the same, look the same, and all that. So we're aging well. The problem is, very often, we're outliving our resources. 60% of the people that retire today will not be able to sustain their standard of living in retirement. They don't have enough money. Nobody does, right? 2 out of 3, just about. So what I'm going to share with you today impacts that in a positive way, and it also, I believe, can impact your business. So I want to see if I can encourage you with a strategy that will help you sell more homes, sell higher valued homes, a strategy to revive an expired listing, a strategy that might enhance your general brand in the area that you really want to become the real estate professional. But the real value is to your clients. We can help them increase their purchasing power, improve their liquidity in retirement, improve their cash flow in retirement, protect their spouse, and at the end of the day, enjoy living in their dream home. Yes! Isn't that what you guys love to do? Ladies and gentlemen, not guys. Sure. It's help people enjoy the home that not only meets their needs the best, but when they wake up or go to bed, they just kind of have that sort of gentle smile. This is such a neat place to live. That's what people deserve, in my view. And I want to help more people accomplish that, and I need you as a partner to do it. So that's what we'll talk about. Now, I'm going to have my colleague, Alan Nielsen from Request Home Loans. Have you all met Alan before?
Yeah.
Yeah, some of you have. He's one of the best mortgage guys on the planet, right? And so he and I partner in business. So after we're done and all of that, he's kind of the guy that's feet on the street right here with you, and I'm the Sherpa in waiting, right? So Alan helped me a little bit. There are 3 ways to buy a house. And one of the ways is the first one, and it's the shortest word on your outline. It would be with the C, and it has 3 more letters. What would that be?
Cash.
Cash. Absolutely. So let's talk about what's good about buying with cash and maybe what isn't so good about buying with cash. What's good about buying with cash?
No finance.
No qualifying, right? So you don't have to qualify, no financing, no payments, right? What else is good about it?
No appraisal.
No appraisal.
You can close quickly.
Quick close.
Yeah. Quick close.
No paperwork.
Yeah. Yeah.
Negotiation power.
For sure.
Negotiation power.
What's not so good about buying with all cash?
No write-off.
2008 is what's not so good about it. What happened in 2008?
Market crash.
Stock market went in the tank, real estate values went in the tank, and people lost value, didn't they? That's the one danger of having too much equity. You hear financial advisors, they'll tell you don't have all your eggs in one basket, right? That's what they say. That's true. Why is that? Because you need to spread your risk out over more than one thing. And so that is, I'm not saying that means don't buy cash, I'm just saying that is a downside, right? One of the risks is you have too much home equity. If you have to sell at the wrong time, equity is not an asset, is it? So your $600,000 nest egg just went to $400,000. Well, that's painful, but that's one of the realities. Anybody else have a comment about the cash? One of Alan's specialties is the second one. It's the longer one. Starts with C. What kind of financing do most people get? Conventional. That's right. Conventional finance. What's the good news about conventional financing? Takes less cash to get in, right? Yeah. So the investment is lower. What other things would be good news about conventional finance?
Tax write-off. The write-off.
Sorry?
Tax write-off.
Taxes, yeah. Another would be because it's less investment, you have less risk to some degree. Yeah. Anything else about conventional finance? What's the bad thing about conventional finance? The
Appraisal.
consequence of conventional finance.
Appraisals and not qualifying.
Yeah, you got an appraisal, you got to qualify, but the big one is you got to make a payment every month, right? I mean, it's a consequence, not a bad thing. It's a consequence. What I want to tell you about today is another form of financing called H4P. That's what you would write in there. H4P. And I'll build that out, so stay with me. Hundreds of years ago in Europe, the concept was developed that we now know as the reverse mortgage concept. In England, it's been used for decades. In Canada. And so in the early 80s, that idea floated down to the United States, specifically in New England. And so when Reagan was president, then he formalized the program, and it became a program offered through FHA. But in 2009, because of the crisis of 2008, the federal government made an adjustment to the program, and now what was normally called a reverse mortgage could be used to purchase a home. Hence the HECM for purchase. Let's just call it H4P right now. So the downside of H4P. Number one. Fees are high. Why is that? Because FHA charges 2.5% of the appraised value or the maximum claim amount as their insurance fee. What do you get for that fee? Well, you get a non-recourse loan. And simply put, that means that you or your family can never be asked for a dime if the value of your home becomes less than the mortgage owed when you have to liquidate. But it's a cost, FHA's cost. That's the biggest cost in the HECM program. What's another downside? Another downside people talk about, or consequence, negative AM. Why is negative AM present? Because there is no monthly payment required. And notice I said required. It's not mandatory that you have negative AM. And I'm going to come back to this later when we talk about spousal protection. But no monthly payment is required. That's the negative AM kicker. Okay? Another sort of consequence that's not fun is it's an FHA program. Right? The loan package that I print out is 251 pages. 251 pages, my gosh. Every time Alan prints one out, he wants $10 from me, you know, because he used a ream of paper. It's an FHA. Now, what's the good news of that? It's federally insured. It's the safest loan you can get in America, in my view. Federally insured. Now, what's the upside? The upside is minimal qualification, although there are some, we can talk about that in a minute. Minimal qualification. No required payments, right? And the big issue is you either put your house to work or you protect your home equity. That's the value. But we look over here. If you can leverage somebody's cash 2 times and take them from buying a $400,000 house, right, to a $600,000 house with no payments, and they'll be happier and it's more like their dream home, or it's closer to their kids, or it has more modern amenities, would you think they would be happy with you? Yeah, they would be. They would be. So, if you could take somebody that sells a home and they, let's just say they walk with $400,000, but they don't want to buy a $400,000 house because it's not like the $800,000 house they just left. If you could show them a way to buy a $600,000 house and put $100,000 in their retirement account, do you think they would like you? I can tell you they will. Say, Monty, is that true? It's true, and I can tell you about a family that I helped do that just this last fall. So, this H4P thing helps in a number of ways. Alan and I just helped a couple in Rancho Santa Margarita. It's actually Las Flores. I didn't know there was a Las Flores, but you guys know that, right? Husband, ill health, doesn't work anymore. Wife wants to retire, they had a mortgage. So we go in, refinance from mortgage A to home equity conversion mortgage by FHA, commonly called the reverse mortgage, and now they have an option that they didn't used to have, and that option is, at some point they can stop making payments if they want to. So when the wife retires, and if he were to die and she lost income, she doesn't have to worry about scraping together and not going with the girls on Friday night, because she can turn off the payment mechanism if she wishes to. That's what I mean by spousal protection. If you're a couple today and you have a conventional mortgage and you could get a reverse mortgage, I would say you should look at it. I'm not saying you should do it yet, because I don't know your situation, but you at least ought to look at it. My wife's 7 years younger than I am. I can promise you I will die before she does, unless there's some catastrophic accident, right? What do you think would make her happier? Having a mortgage that she can pay electively and turn off if something happens and her income isn't as strong, or one like this that you don't have any choice. They don't care who died. They just want to get their $1,800 a month, right? So what I'm telling you is this program has flexibility that many people have not yet considered. So all of these things should help you sell more, get people the house they really need. Let me show you how it revives a listing that's on life support. Why do people cancel their listing?
They don't get the money, they don't get their price.
Number one, they have an unrealistic expectation of what their home is worth, right?
Anytime.
You tell them it's $550 and they go, I swear my neighbor sold for $630, right? And they make, and you, okay, we'll try, right? And it doesn't sell because it's not $630, it's $550. So many people, the reason why they want to have $630 is so they can have enough money to buy the house they want, right? What if you could counsel them and say, you know what, I want you to meet Monty, my Sherpa. We may have an affordability strategy that will let you list your house at the price we're going to have to list it at in order to sell it, but you'll still be able to go where you want to go. Why is that? Because we can leverage the cash out. That's why. Does that make sense? In other words, let's just take my example. They walk with 4. They want to buy 6, but they don't want a payment, or they can't qualify for a regular conventional loan with Allen. What are they going to do? They're going to stay put and live where they are because they're stuck. What if we could unstuck them, right, and show them that we can leverage the 4 easily into 6, and they'll have $100,000 left over to put in their retirement fund? It's possible. I do it every single week. So that's how you can revive a listing. You can show them that if they sell at the true market value, we can still get them to their desired destination. And that's what this is about, isn't it? It's not necessarily about just, you know, and I realize there's a tremendous amount of emotional cachet with the value of somebody's home. But at the end of the day, as professional sales people, and I think sales is the art and science of ethical influence, so I don't think it's backing people in a corner where they feel stupid if they don't agree with us. That's not what I'm saying, all right? But it's to their advantage for us to help them see that there is an affordable way to do this. So that's really the essence of my message for you today. Here's what's interesting. On the right-hand side in your notes, you'll see result. The result of buying for cash is you're locked up. I'm not saying nobody should buy for cash, but I'm telling you that it is a fact that if you put all your cash in a house and you have 100% equity, you are at the mercy of the market to get that money out. You are locked up. If you have a conventional loan, you are locked in. They don't care much about anything, they just want to get their monthly payment because that's the contract that you agree to, right? So you're locked in, right? I would submit to you, this is one of the few loans that really gives you flexibility and you're freed up. If you want to make payments and treat this as a normally, you know, fully amortized loan, you can do it. But it gives you the opt-out anytime you need it, right? If that's not what you want to do, then you don't have to make a payment, and you can let the negative M go where it's going to go, right? So the landscape is larger than just these two options is what I'm trying to describe to you. Does that make sense? All right. This is the drawing of what I was describing about how we can help people leverage their cash. If they have a $600,000 home, and this is theoretical. I have a handout I'm going to give you in a minute. They sell, they walk with 3. We can take the 3, basically they put 3 down, we'll finance the other 3, and they have no payments if they don't want to, or they can make payments until they want to stop, right? So we leverage their cash proceeds. Let me tell you a quick story. I got a call 2 years ago from the Hernandez family. Monty, my wife just inherited $125,000 and we want to buy a home, but we've tried to buy a home, but we're both on Social Security and we don't make enough money to qualify for a good loan. So we heard about this H4P program, explain it to us. So I explained it to them. They found a realtor up in Sacramento and they bought in Granite Bay area. And this was probably a few years back. But they were able to buy a beautiful single-story ranch home, and they put their $125,000 that they'd inherited down. We'd used the H4P to finance the rest, and it was approximately about a $300,000 purchase. When they got their appraisal, it appraised for $315,000. They made $15,000 in equity just by buying the place, right? And it was only 4 or 5 years old, and they were the happiest people you could ever imagine. For them, right, it was their dream to own a home. They were 65 years old and always lived in apartments, and they weren't, they weren't bitter about it. But inheriting this money gave them the sort of the ability, by using the H4P program, to have their dream home. I got to tell you, they're happy. They're so happy. So it works for people that are first-time buyers too, right? You got somebody that's living in an apartment and they have a nest egg or they inherit some money, this can help them. One of the things I read recently was that boomers really are interested in right-sizing. I'm a boomer. I'll be 65 next March, right? I know I don't look a day over 63, but I'm going to be 65. It's on my mind every time I clean my pool. I just say, man, I can't wait for the day that I live someplace that has a pool that isn't mine. I long for that, right? Every time one of my adult children moves in the home, I go, it wouldn't be bad to have fewer bedrooms. I love them. You know what I mean? It's the boomers. We think about that, right? Because we don't want to hassle. I'm tired of doing chores. My gosh, right? So boomers are interested in right-sizing. Sometimes, right? Sell. Once again, same illustration. We've got 300 that we're going to take with us. If we put 200 down and buy 400, minimal qualifications, little payment. We got an extra 100 that we can do something with. I'd be tempted to go buy an ML63, but nonetheless, right? That's the option with the program. And here's the last one that I mentioned already, and that is spousal protection. I really, really got to tell you that I've been doing this 24 years. I have literally had a lady tell me in Palm Springs early in my career that her husband had a heart attack and died on this spot, and she knelt down on the floor and was reliving that moment. It had been years ago, right? And she said to me, Monty, one of the last things he said to me was, don't screw up the house. Well, yeah, right? Don't screw up the house. Because he knew he was out of there, right? And he wanted to make sure she had a place to live. And she was petrified, right? She was petrified. And she was talking to me because she couldn't afford to stay in the house. She couldn't make the payments. She was falling behind in her HOA dues. You know, it's one of those nice little golf course condos in Palm Springs. I mean, it was just tearing her up. So we simply refied. The numbers were much smaller. We refied, right? And now, if she couldn't make a monthly payment, she didn't have to worry about getting nasty letters and phone calls from a call center, right? Nobody bothered her. And then if she wanted to resume making a payment, she could. So the spousal protection aspect is absolutely real for all of us who have some age differential maybe in our marriage. So, H4P, top of the page. Affordability, flexibility, and security. That's my message for you today. Affordability, flexibility, and security. I'm the Sherpa that can help you resolve some of the affordability questions that some of your prospects or clients may have. And not all of them. I don't turn water into wine, that kind of thing. But I'm telling you that there are numbers of transactions that we could help happen if we could solve the affordability aspect. Flexibility, the most misunderstood truth about reverse mortgages in general and the HECM for Purchase program. HECM is FHA nomenclature for reverse mortgage. It stands for Home Equity Conversion Mortgage. The H4P program and generally HECM refis is the flexibility available in the program to make payments or not make payments. The only thing you have to do with the FHA transaction is you got to live in the house and you got to keep your taxes and insurance current and don't let the weeds grow too high. It's not that tough, right? You can have a fixed rate right now at probably 4.5%, plus the FHA insurance premium of 1.25%. On reverse, it's 1.25%. So all in, 5.75%. You can have an adjustable. The index that's used is the LIBOR. You can have a monthly LIBOR or an annual adjusting LIBOR. Monthly is a little lower index, but you have greater volatility exposure because the lifetime cap is 10 points over the start rate rather than 5 points with the annual. And right now, annual is about all in 3.25%, 3.5%, plus the 1.25% FHA. So even if it's 3.5%, you're 4.75%. For a loan that you may not have to make any payments, for a loan that has minimal qualifications compared, so you're paying maybe 3/4 of a point to a point over a conventional. So I'm not saying anything, I'm just saying that's what it is, right? But it's flexible. You can pick what's best for you. And then there's the security dimension, right? I personally am at a point in my life where the more options I have, the more secure I feel, right? The more options I have, the more secure I feel. When I was younger, I didn't worry about options because I was big, tough Monty, right? I mean, I played football with a headache, pal. I'm tough, right? I'm not so tough. I go to CrossFit, I throw up. I mean, I'm not tough. I'm the guy leaning over in the bushes in the alley saying, give me a second, right? I mean, it's just brutal. I'm not as tough. I'm interested in the security that options give me because I'm not exactly sure what tomorrow will bring. This program gives people a number of wonderful options. We already talked a little about listing debt. I won't beat that to death. So, my closing thought for you today is this. Is that by simply having an awareness of the program, you may now run into somebody. If you're door knocking, how many of you still, trust me, that would never be my favorite pastime. You still do a little door knocking or you have somebody leave flyers or something? Not too many.
Yeah,
like zero. Okay. Well, let me reframe what I'm going to share with you. if you somehow run into a prospect that looks a little bit like they're my age, right? You might ask them this question. If you're not living in the house of your dreams, how come? Right? Now, I don't mean that to be delivered in some trite, condescending fashion. One of the things that I've always been fortunate about is that I was drawn, even before I was a senior, to the senior market because I have the utmost respect and I value my elders. My parents are both 87. I love those people more than I can tell you. I am so proud of my parents. My parents are the coolest old people you will ever meet. I mean, I go back, they live in Springfield, Missouri. Holy moly, right? I go back there, I have a blast. They're 87. I take my dad golfing, he rides in the cart down, coaches me, you know. They went to every football game I ever played in. I mean, these are great people. I think my mom got me through college. I don't remember, you know. They're good people. I've always had an affection and respect for my elders. But at the same time, we have to have the intestinal fortitude to ask the right questions framed with the right tone. And the right question in the real estate business, I think, for seniors is, are you really living where you want to live? Do you want to live closer to your grandkids? I got twin grandbabies in Germany. They just turned 2 last summer. I would move there tomorrow if I could. They need their grandpa, right? I'm the bodyguard of all bodyguards. We went on vacation this fall. I went back there, and my daughter manages the twins by herself, and there were 4 adults, and we couldn't manage them. I don't know how she does it by herself, right? Went to Heidelberg, went to the castle, and I was petrified this little kid's going to crawl over the wall and plunge to their death, you know. I'm all over, I'm grabbing them, I'm holding them, you know. So, do they want to live somewhere else? Do they want to relocate? Do they want a house that, you know, they don't have pinhole leaks in the pipes all over their house? They're just tired of dealing with that. That's what, you know, we go through in our house. Whatever the reason, are you living, maybe you don't say the dream home, maybe that's just too much, sounds goofy. But are you living in your best house? What's stopping you? And I'm telling you, more often than not, it's money. So let's see if we can help mitigate the money challenge. Now, some we can, some we can't, I know, right? But here's what I'll offer you. I think knowing about this will enhance your personal and professional brand. I think it'll get you more sales. I think it'll make you more money, right? But the deal is, I make house calls. And one of the things I wanted to do today was to try to impress upon you that I understand the market. I am the market, okay? You can speak with Alan and David. If you want to know, you know, offline, what's Monty like? Does he know his stuff? Is he good with people? All that kind of thing. They'll tell you. Whatever they tell you, I'll rest on that, right? I think it'll be positive. I'm available to help you. If you have somebody stuck, or if you have an affordability problem, I make house calls. I'm the senior Sherpa, right? I'll go with you. And I don't know if we'll be successful, but I can tell you that I don't think it'll hurt, right? I don't think it'll hurt. So, I'm not trying to teach you all the nuances of the program. I have a couple handouts for you, okay? So let me go get one of them, and then I'll let you take the others. Over here on the chairs, you just pass these down. Pass these down. Now I'll teach you guys. I have 2 other handouts, okay? This first handout, on one side there's an article from the Wall Street Journal basically saying this program is real. Then on the other side is your cheat sheet, okay? This is pretty much everything you need to know about HECM for purchase. Why do you want to use it? What benefit is there? How does it work? Couple of key ingredients. Number one of the buyers needs to be 62 at least. Okay? Second thing, it's an owner-occupied loan. Thirdly, the down payment money cannot be the result of debt. It could be a gift, whatever. Can't result of debt. They can't have had a foreclosure short sale deed in lieu of in the last 3 years. The property's got to qualify. If it's a condo, it has to be FHA approved development. PUDs are okay, single families are okay, mobile homes are not. So that gives you kind of this stuff. The big thing that's kind of chased some people in your profession is no seller concessions and all that kind of stuff. It's an FHA rule. Not my deal, it's there. The concession is price, okay? And so the matrix at the bottom is what gives you an idea of, okay, if they want to buy 500,000 and they're 62, what's the down payment requirement? You see there, it's 235,000. See that? So that's how you can kind of get an idea, you know, what is the buying power of your prospect. You got it right there. If they're, let's say that like in my case, I'm 64, my wife is 57. It would be priced according to the age of the younger person. So remember, only one person has to be at least 62. So that gives you the detail. Then I have 2 other flyers that you can pick up if you like. 10 questions to ask a mature prospect. You may be way beyond me, but I've coached over 1,000 salespeople, and I can tell you the most successful salespeople ask the best question. Not necessarily complicated, just the best question. And then the green one gives you some examples of my customers of how they utilize the program. Okay? I'm talking about primarily how to use it as a purchase mechanism, but you can use it as a refi mechanism. And so if you wanted to read some quick 2-paragraph stories, that information in my cards are over there as well. Or you can talk to Alan, and we'll work together in terms of your situation. Now, how many of you have a business card with you? Okay. Would you, Alan, would you help me? Yep. Would you collect however many people are willing to give me your business card? I'm going to have a drawing. I'm going to give away 4 of my books. I just remembered what the 200 number was. I don't have Alzheimer's yet. The 200 number is 200 pages. In other words, I took, when I wrote this in 2008, right, 7 years ago, about 16 or 17 years of my experience in the senior market, and I wrote a book for my salespeople. So, what you'll find in this is some interesting stuff. There's a chapter on Moscas, the segmentation stuff that I referred to. There's some information that Marlon helped me with as well. There's one of the pages I like, it's 15 questions page, right? And one of the best closing questions I ever heard was this: if you don't do anything, are you going to be better off? Well, that's a teachable moment. You know what a teachable moment is? When the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. That's called a teachable moment. So it's just got stuff like that. So even though it says kitchen table mastery for the reverse mortgage professional, it's really about working in and with the mature market. So I'm going to give 4 of them away. And
Bonnie has this question.
Yeah, I don't really understand. I thought your reverse mortgage was on the house you're living in. Are you saying you can go buy a new house and get a reverse mortgage on that new house before you buy it?
well, what I'm saying is this: a reverse mortgage, you can only have one FHA loan at a time, right? So if you want to use a reverse mortgage to purchase a home, you may. You just have to have the down payment money to make up the difference between what you qualify for and the purchase price. So for instance, my clients in Rancho Cucamonga sold a $600,000 house. They walked with $390,000. We bought a $545,000 house because the wife refused to live in the $390,000 house in Rancho Cucamonga. So they downsized to $545,000, and they took the proceeds from their sale plunk down 300,000, we finance the rest, they put 90 grand in the bank, and so they use the reverse mortgage to purchase their next home.
So the reverse mortgage was attached to the new house?
Yes. It was used, just think about it as it's just a financing tool. So that's why I prefer to call it HECM for purchase, not a reverse mortgage, because it kind of causes people to kind of get stuck where you don't need to. It's just another financing tool. It requires a larger down payment. That's all. Okay?
So does this work even better for people that wanna move down? Let's say they got the big house
Yeah.
and they don't want to move up and get
Yeah.
a better house, so.
Yeah.
But
It's-
625 is the max?
Right. Let me explain the $625,000 number. That is the FHA maximum claim amount. What that simply means is this. If your appraised value is $750, FHA only computes your benefit on a maximum number of $625,000. So, good for you, it's worth $750, but your benefit isn't based upon a percentage of $750, it's based on a percentage of $625,500, and that percentage is a function of your age. The younger you are, the lower the percentage. Just generally, you can look at that chart, right? And even if you look at the first column, you'll see that a 62-year-old qualifies for less financing than a 67-year-old, and 67 less than a 72-year-old, okay? So it's age sensitive. The older you are, the higher the LTV. Yeah.
How many times can you do reverse mortgage?
You can do it as many times as you can do it, but you can only have one in place at any one time. Yeah. All right.
One more.
All right, anybody else? I mean, this book is a hot seller. Amazon $8.95.
What are the overall cost of doing a reverse mortgage?
Okay, I'll go over that real briefly. Question was, what about the cost? In a reverse mortgage, the biggest cost is the initial mortgage insurance premium. That's an FHA fee. 2.5% of the max claim amount or the appraised value. So on a $600,000 house, 2.5% of that's 15 grand, right? Now all these fees are financed, but still it's 15 grand. Then you have your normal closing costs and fees. You know, something like this, closing costs and fees are probably going to be about $2,700. So it's just normal, what you'd be used to, right? Your title company, your escrow, whatever you want. And then the last one is points. In my business, they call it the lender origination fee, but it's points. And that's capped. You can never charge more than $6,000. On purchase transactions, okay, 0. I don't charge any points. Alan doesn't charge any point. Okay? 0. On some refis, 0. If somebody does a line of credit, which is fine, I think if you have a free and clear property, you'd be wise to put a HECM, reverse mortgage line of credit on your house just to protect yourself from value volatility. We have to charge points because there's no yield spread revenue to get. You know, so basically I would be working for the Salvation Army, and I can't do that right now. But those are the fees, right? So this is tied to the appraised value or the max claim amount. This is tied to, you know, whatever the normal fees are. In some cases, we can give a lender credit for some of this stuff on refis, but we're unable to on purchases. It's against the law. So basically the buyer has to kind of swallow that pill. Now let's talk about that for a second. How many of you go to Starbucks once in a while? Yeah, my family, they go to Starbucks, they buy those cars, they got their fancy phones, and I don't know Starbucks. I can't tell the difference between good coffee, bad coffee, because I put 40% milk in it anyway, right? But for those people that do Starbucks, if you amortize the costs over the couple's life expectancy, it's less than a Starbucks a day. So in spite of that being a significant number, in the grand scheme of things, right, you kind of have to put it in perspective. But the costs are there, they're real. Like I said, legally, I can't do anything with this. I don't charge any points, so at least we get rid of that 6,000, right? Now, let me, and then I'm gonna draw up 4 cards real quick. Say one last thing. On April the 27th of this last year, FHA instituted what they call financial assessment. And what that means is we now have to qualify people for this program. The qualifications are minimal, but they're still qualifications. You have to have a certain amount of residual income after your expenses. The biggest thing is the credit qualification. No lates in the last 24 months on your taxes and your mortgage payment if you have one. You have to have your hazard insurance for the last 12 months, no delinquency, okay? If you have lates on installment debt, hopefully we have an extenuating situation that we can write a letter of explanation about. If any of those are true, we sometimes have to do what FHA demands to insure the loan, and that is basically create an impound account for their taxes and their insurance, but it's over their life expectancy. It can end up being a big number. So, because of that, right, I have 3 colleagues here today. Number 1, Alan Nielsen, right? He's my Sherpa mentee, right? But we work together. So if you have something, go to Alan, he'll go to me, I'll go to Alan, whatever. My second colleague is my marketing guy, Marlon, okay? And if you want somebody to help you with social media, online stuff, here's his number. Sort of. I did tell you what the 200 was, didn't I? Or did I? It's 200 pages. So the point was, I took the time to write 200 pages about the senior market. So that, I mean, if nothing else, I know something. That's what the 200, all right? And then my last colleague is actually one of my kids. So I was telling the kids jokes, right? This is Eric. Eric works with a company called Precision Credit Group. Occasionally, I do have seniors that we need to clean up just a couple of simple things on their credit reports so they don't get hit with the tax and insurance impound. That's $65,000, right? Because it's their life expectancy. So he can help do that. So he's the gentleman that furnished our French's treats today. So let's give those guys a hand. All right. Okay, Alan, pick a card, any card. All right, pick another. And pick another. Oh, did you pick your own? All right. Terry. Diaz. Who's Terry?
Right here.
Terry?
Thank you.
My compliment.
Thank you.
If nothing else, it's a cure for insomnia. Jeff.
That's me.
All right, Jeff. Jeff's a good friend of one of my other colleagues, David Darling, who did a 3-hour CE course for you here. And David is a good guy as well. Matt. Right here. There you go.
Thank you, sir.
And then the last winner, Margot, you win.
Oh, good one. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Margot was really nice to me when I arrived, so. All right, that's all we have for today. If you have any further questions, I'm going to hang around for a few minutes. Don't forget, I have some flyers there on those chairs on my card, and feel free to grab one and always call me if you need me.
I do have a question. So let's say you're 66 years old and you do a reverse mortgage, but your life expectancy is going to be 90. So you get into a reverse mortgage and you make payments, but then you decide, well, I'm not going to make these payments. You're just basically using the equity in the house that you created when you bought the property, correct? So then when you expire or you exit, really, if you choose not to make the payments, you have no equity.
Not necessarily. It depends on the market and it depends on what happens. Remember, this can be a negative AM loan. But if, let me go back to one of my drawings. Just look at this for a second.
I mean, that's 35
Yeah.
35 years if you're 60.
If you have a timeline of 35 years, right?
Uh-huh.
And for the times you make the payments, let's just say your mortgage balance is 300, just to make it easy. It stays at 300 because you make the interest payment, let's just say for 15 years.
It's interest
And
only?
then you quit making the payment, right? What's gonna happen? The mortgage debt, the mortgage balance is gonna increase for however long you don't make the payment. Now, depending on, I'll draw the line up here. If your house now, over 15 years, isn't worth 6, but it's worth 750, or at 90, it's worth 900,000, this line is never gonna reach the value. So you're always gonna have equity to pass on to your estate.
But the first 10 years that you're making those payments, and you have a loan balance of 300, you're not really paying down.
You're not paying down, you're just keeping it flat. It's just like treating it like an interest only.
An interest only.
If you wanna make a principal and interest payment, then you do the math and you could do that. If you wanna say, I'm gonna make interest plus $200 a month, then you do that, and then it would be going down.
I see.
Yeah,
And-
so you're in control.
Are we correct to assume that the maximum is 375,000? That you can.
675
Well,
or.
375 loan, a loan of 375?
No, let's do this, and this is easy. Right now, if you're 62, you get about 54% loan to value. If you're 85, you get 75% loan to value. So the amount of your reverse mortgage benefit, right, fluctuates by age. The older you are, the bigger the reverse mortgage opportunity becomes, because your life expectancy is shorter.
Right.
So,
So
does
what
that
would
make
be-
sense?
So what would be the advantage of doing it at 65?
Well, I can't give you one blanket answer, okay? Here's the answer. If you have a mortgage, the advantage is spousal protection in case of something catastrophic, right? Because you're not giving away, 5 points in interest. The disadvantage is you've got to absorb the big FHA fee. That's the deal. But once again, is the spousal protection and the future flexibility of worth to you or not, right? The fact of the matter is, if you have a free and clear property, I think you should do a reverse mortgage line of credit yesterday. And you give me another 2 minutes,
Yeah.
I'll show you what. Now, you gotta cross your heart and promise you not tell anybody that works for the federal government what I'm gonna show you. All right. Check this out. This is crazy, but it's true. You got a free and clear house, it's worth 600,000. You could do a HECM line of credit right now, and you'll get a line of credit that starts at $300,000. How many of you know the rule of 72? Rule of 72, divide the interest rate into 72, and it tells you how many years it takes for the balance to double. Let's just, for the sake of guesstimates, use 6% interest into 72, and you get 12, right? Right? Right.
Right.
In 12 years, this line of credit has done what? It's doubled. Now you got a line of credit of $600,000. In 2009, I got a letter from IndyMac Bank, because I worked for a company that was bought by IndyMac Bank, and they said, Monty, we love you, but your line of credit is no longer accessible. Anybody get one of those ever?
Yeah.
What do you mean? I got a $100,000 home equity line of credit. Not anymore, because it's frozen, babe. Why is that? Because everybody, B of A froze them, everybody froze them, right? FHA doesn't do that. This number isn't tied to this number. This number theoretically could go to 0, and you would still have a $600,000 line of credit, because this line of credit grows tax-free every month, right? What are the costs of doing that? The cost of doing this isn't 15 plus 2,700. The cost to do this is about 10 grand. Financed, right? because you're not taking any money, FHA only charges you 1/2 of 1% for the mortgage insurance premium, not the not the 2.5. So that's why I'm telling you that as a strategic planning tool, if your house did go down in value, let's say it went down to 300,000. You know, we had another market correction, whatever you call it. You could literally tap $600,000 from your and still live there and still have a $300,000 house, right? Come on. You say, man, it's too much. Like it's not. It's just the way it's arbitrary. You say it doesn't make any sense. Why did they grow it? The reason, theoretically why, is they wanted to preserve the spending power of seniors. When this program started, people that had $600,000 home, number one, there weren't as many. Number two, they didn't think about reverse mortgages. When I first got hired, we spent months having focus groups on what not to call this. It's like, don't call it toilet paper. But it is toilet paper, right? Don't call it reverse mortgage, people will hate it. That's why. So get past the stigma and all the misconceptions. The fact of the matter is, if you know how to make this bad boy work, it can protect you in the event of a real estate bubble bursting. So, I'm not sure you even asked a question.
I was wondering what happens if you live too long and now there's nothing left. I mean,
Yeah. Congratulations. My goal is to live too long. I want to live. I got grandkids. I want to be old enough to say, I remember when you used to jump on
65 to
me."
105 or something.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. With this H4P or HECM, you can't live too long. It is theoretically possible to live long enough and for the mortgage balance to grow large enough that it will evacuate all of the equity.
Right.
But you have permanent residency rights as long as you pay the taxes and insurance or keep them current, right? As long as you reasonably maintain the home. Nobody will ask you for a dime and nobody will ask you to move. You just got to live there, right? So I have never, in 24 years, the only time I've had upside down situations was in 2009 and 10, right after the market crashed. And most of those have come back. But the people who died during that time, in our family, Eric's aunt passed away, had a little fourplex in Los Angeles, and when we first did her reverse mortgage, it appraised for, high fours, okay? She passed away, and it appraised for 184. Is that crazy? She owed 325. Did they come hound us, the family? No. Mortgage insurance pool from FHA paid, B of A was the lender, paid them the difference, and actually a person in our family repurchased the home at 185, which was the fair market value at the time, right? So, did I answer your question?
Yes.
I gotta let you go. If you want to talk, I'm gonna hang around a little bit. I really appreciate David, just as a guy, I appreciate him. But I'm so thankful to be able to talk with you, and like I said, I'm here for you when you need me. Alan's here for you, Eric, Marlon. We want to be helpful if we can. All
Thanks,
right.
Monty. Thanks, Gary.